I am an associated member of T3 Trading Group. All trades placed by Derrick are placed through T3 Trading Group. All right, here's the position disclosure here. Nothing really new for me. You know, had a pretty solid day trade in NIO, but I closed out of that one by the end of the day today. Good teamwork on that trade, by the way. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about other trades, but let's start with our big picture of the market. That's not the market. That's the market, like we always like to. All right, so S&P still close positive today. Sick. Up 0.25% today. Qs are up a full percentage point, and IWM was flat, down small, I guess I should say, down 0.2%. And that, what did the TLT do today by the close? TLT was positive, interest rates were down, relative strength to Nasdaq. That all makes sense. Let's take a step back. We had a common gap to the downside. Excuse me. We had a common gap to the downside in the S&P this morning. What I was talking about in the morning meeting is that these types of gaps are something that you typically want to come in and buy, especially as this market has become more bullish, right? We got to close above 445 in the SPYs yesterday on Friday, and the 445 on a closing basis is where I have been deeming this market as from going from neutral back to bullish. So we are bullish here. It is a common gap down in a market that's gotten increasingly bullish. That is something that you want to come in and technically buy. The word of caution I had was still the degree of extension. That even into this market's gap down this morning, you know, we gapped down to 444 or so, that the ADMA was still, you know, a few dollars beneath that. So we could see some further weakness or further digestion would probably be the highest probability situation. Further digestion to allow these moving averages to catch up, which then would further confirm that this market has gotten more bullish. And we were even more bullish than we expected, or than I expected. You know, we initially traded higher here, quick little blip lower, followed by this hammer that was on low volumes, nothing to get too excited about. But then this common gap was pretty much filled by 10:05. By 10:05, when the gap got filled, I really did not expect us to be able to push higher today. And the reason why is purely just because of the degree of the move in the second half of last week, plus the degree of upside extension that we're now seeing in the S&P. So I really did not expect to be able to move much higher off that gap fill, and lo and behold, we kind of continued to grind up, and it just shows you just how strong this market is. So another strong close here. SPYs are back above 445. SPYs are back into bull mode. Just keep in mind we do have a little bit of extension here. So that's our S&P, looking good. Nasdaq. So Nasdaq is relatively strong today. It was relatively strong on Friday, though overall since mid-August it's been weak to the IWM. That can obviously change. A lot of that is going to be based on the movement in interest rates. It's so interesting to see just how well this TLT has been holding up. Interest rates are just really struggling to move higher, which is what everyone seems to think is supposed to happen as, you know, the Fed approaches tapering and everything else. We had that quick, sell-off here earlier in the month, and now that got totally bought back up, and we're kind of back into this digestion mode here for the TLT. So TLT holding up as well as it is. Interest rates kind of staying down has really helped the Nasdaq these last couple of days. And the Qs here are still in what I would call neutral territory, but wow, what a few really strong days here. And as the Qs start to test this 374 area, it's really above 374 is where I think the Nasdaq becomes bullish again. So basically 373 close, we're pretty much right there. Just again, keep in mind, especially after such a big day today, Nasdaq was up another percentage point today, that we do have a decent degree of extension that I would love to see kind of get time corrected. And the IWM here, 2 days of relative weakness after overall some strength for the last couple months here. 2 days of relative weakness, still closed. Did it close positive? It didn't even close positive, right? We're down small. Yeah, down small in the Russell even today, though it is off of its lows. The Russell, above 225, I consider it to be at bullish territory. Technically, we have a close at 225.03. So we're in bull territory by 3 cents in the IWM. I don't know if you want to get too excited about that. But we are getting close to having continuity across our major 3 indices of bull territory, right? SPYs are there, Qs are a buck away but extended, and IWM is basically literally sitting right there. So this market has definitely had a pretty solid turnaround overall since the lows were put in early on in October, and we kind of reversed this trend. Really, this day here on Wednesday last week, which we spoke about, this day Wednesday last week was such a key day because this was a do or die day for the Bulls versus the Bears. The Bulls wanted to create a higher low here, where I thought that higher low was going to lead to a wedge. It actually didn't lead to a wedge. It led to just a break higher. But it was still such a key day for the Bulls on the bull versus bear battle in this more neutral to potentially bearish market territory. And the Bulls just basically took over and won that battle. So another great day for the team. Again, I thought that given the market extension that today was going to be a little bit of a trickier day for the market. And we had the calls were on money, on the money. They were on point today. First off, this NIO is one that I was involved in. It was one of my ideas in the morning meeting this morning. I thought NIO wasn't too extended off of the $37 breakout that occurred on Friday, and the market gapping down this morning was letting people get in for decent price. Felipe, then on the intraday price action, was calling this thing out like a champion. I think I bought like $37.50 or so on this, and it obviously just turned into being a really nice move. And now NIO is a bit extended after today's trading session. So fantastic job for anyone who got in the NIO call out earlier this morning, based on those daily chart technicals that were still there. I spoke about TLT this morning for a long versus the retest of kind of 133. We called out the 133 buy on Wednesday last week for an initial price target of 140. It worked in a day and a morning. Technical pullback into equilibrium here. Friday's low was 133.85. So we spoke about being long off the open versus 133 or 133.85 Friday's low to see if that could lead to a higher low and upside continuation. And that's exactly what we got. Good upside initial move here. Sloppy midday price action. Okay close. Now we really need this stock to prove itself by getting above and holding above 140. So not bad. CCJ we spoke about this morning as a potential buy off this bull flag. Noted some concern about the degree of upside extension, but also noted that this is a momentum name and that there's been a lot of fund interest in the uranium plays recently, so it was one to keep an eye on, for continuation above 26 bucks. And this was another one, fantastic opening volume. It's exactly what you want to see. So if you're able to be long initially versus Friday's high, and then very soon after that versus the opening low, this turned into being a great opening drive momentum trade. Created your higher low here on the technical pullback into equilibrium. Tried to rally from there, but failed to make new highs. And then spent more or less the rest of the day kind of consolidating and digesting that move. The CCJ by the close here is very extended, which we knew, but also didn't give a fantastic close. I don't love the degree of the tail in the candle today, but overall CCJ looking solid. We spoke about potential buys in FUTU and Tiger this morning. We know that FUTU got defended by another analyst today. I had mentioned months ago that I was worried about these stocks as far as regulation goes. I felt that they were the prime candidates for Chinese regulation, and then finally that's what happened, which caused this to break major support levels last week. Got defended by analysts, and my thought process was the degree of the sell-off in FUTU and especially Tiger, combined with the analyst defense this morning, or maybe you could look for long off the open versus some sort of opening low. But I did caution on the downside momentum to make sure that you weren't just putting bids out and kind of just catching a falling knife. So FUTU here, very very fast. You could see that you could be long versus the opening low. Good looking volume, nice tail there. That's your setup to be long versus the opening low. I thought it'd be great if you could get a gap fill move on it. I didn't expect too much more, but you got the gap fill plus a little bit of follow through, and spent the rest of the day consolidating that. Tiger, basically the same situation. The volume was better on FUTU than it was on Tiger, but same situation with the gap down, kind of as a secondary play to FUTU's defense from the analysts. Basically similar opening price action here. So there's some other names that just worked out really well. I know this Woof we'd been chatting about. I don't have a position in this anymore. I got shaken out of my swing trade on this day here on September 30th when it kind of broke below 2150, which is fine. We know this has a very large short float, so this has the ability for a big short squeeze should the volume and everything actually come in, and also just huge move here today in Woof. The one I'm almost upset about is Apple. Apple, we spoke about in the meeting again this morning. I noted that I thought Apple was starting to look better. Apple, I thought, a lot of last week and the week before that, after the breakdown, had really kind of been in no man's land. Same thing with Amazon. I think Amazon's kind of been in no man's land. Microsoft has been the better trading vehicle. It's been the better FANG stock to be involved in. This Apple level, 145, we discussed in the morning meeting, and I talked about how I really wanted the stock to not break it today. I wanted this thing to just consolidate further in front of that 145, especially with the gap down. I thought that could create a better setup if it could stay below it. That it'd be a better setup for tomorrow or Wednesday, and I was wrong. It went today. So I don't know if anyone took that through the 145 area. It's like an 11 a.m. trade. I don't love initiating new positions at 11 a.m. either. But you could see you have a little bit of an ignition bar. The volume came in, so you could have been long through 145 with a stop loss of that bar's low, which is 144.81. 20 cents risk in Apple, not bad. Gives you a $1.75 follow through. Closes really well. Tech was really strong. Qs are really strong. So this actually ended up being a pretty decent trade today. I just wish it would have waited for tomorrow because I did not look to execute on that one today. And that is all I have to talk about. So again, I'm just loving how well the team has been doing. Last week the calls were super on point, and here we are. It's Monday, and we're just picking right up where we left off last week, which is great. So happy to answer any questions you guys have here, because that's all I've got for you all. Yes, Stefan all over this IO. Great stuff being involved in this before the news hit today, and it was up huge. So hope you crushed that one. I know you've also been hollering from the rooftops about this WFRD to the team here for like well over a month, and then gave this beautiful 4-day move here. Definitely looking extended at this point, but looks fantastic. And I know you're looking for more too. I would say for people who are not already in it though, wait for it to reset up, and you've got to be a little bit careful on the volume there. But it's great stuff, my man. Great stuff. Keep it up. Keep it up. Holden got lucky with Apple today. All right, we prefer skill, but we'll take luck, right? I know I will. Thoughts on AMD? Yeah, AMD. I'm still in AMD from October 13th when we called that trade out. Basically, the opening buy there in AMD has just given $10 a follow through now, so it's phenomenal. It's extended. I don't think you really could have responsibly bought this today, because it was already extended coming into today, and now it's even more extended. So this is the perfect example of doing the right thing at the right time, having a good game plan in for reward maximization, and then following the game plan. And I said, this day at the close, that my game plan was really just primarily to trail from that point on. I did do a little of the trimming also, which maybe was a mistake, but I'm really just have a game plan for reward maximization where I'm looking to trail this AMD. Obviously, phenomenal strength here. I don't know where this thing is going. There's not really much to the left. You only have one resistance point left, which is all-time highs here at 122, which is where we were shorting last time it was up there because of the degree of extension. So AMD looking phenomenal. Hope everyone is still in with me from, below 107 from this day. That's my price. So just fantastic. There's no trail here yet based on my trailing rules because it's basically just been straight up for 4 days in a row. So there's nothing to do here except for count your dollars. But just remember, when you've got really good looking swing trades that you're in the money on a lot, if it's open P&L, it's open P&L. It's not locked in. So don't ever, count your chickens before they've hatched. For me, as of right now, my stop loss on my position is still the low from October 13th. So any P&L that I'm up by being $10 in the money, I don't have that money, right? That money's not mine. So just make sure when you're doing your risk management, you should always be calculating your worst case scenario. Well, for me, my worst case scenario on AMD is still that I get stopped out at 106.25, and I give it back $1. $1. I give it back $10. So I don't want to get too excited about certain things. We won't mention what other name gave a really big move at one point early on in the day today and had me open a boatload of P&L, but it's just a perfect example of not counting your chickens before they hatch, not getting too happy with yourself, and always knowing your worst case scenario. So it's AMD. Next here from Mr. Fish asking about CPE. Calon Petroleum Company. I don't know anything about this. I'd be curious to know if Stefan knows anything about this name. Kind of a volatile day. Looks like a volatile day with these tails on either side today. Yeah, pretty big wide-ranging day with the initial move and then the sell-off. I think that mimics XLE a little bit. Yeah, XLE is a bit extended and tried to be strong, and then showed some kind of weakness on the intraday here. So CPE. I don't think there's anything new to talk about. It's still kind of setting up in an overall bullish manner. You still have this broad support area, $52. It's more or less intact, even though it tailed below it at one point today. So I don't think there's anything to do at this point. You definitely don't want to see this thing closing below 52. And the longer it can hold up in this area, the more bullish it'll be. But I don't really see anything that would get me excited to do any new position initiation in it. So hopefully you're just already in it from a good price and you're kind of just managing the position, in which case it looks just fine. Next here from Russ. What are your thoughts on the volume on the indexes as they are moving higher, volume is going down? Yep. So it's definitely something that's notable. As a general rule, volume tends to be higher when the market's moving down than volume is when the market moves up. And we said that volume is confirmation, but you don't need volume to pay you. And I would definitely just note, I remember for years early on in my career, right, for the most part, the market's been in an uptrend since 2010, right? We've had a couple corrections and, a couple arguable bear markets over the course of the 11 years. Obviously, we had coronavirus last year. But for the most part, for the last 10, 11 years, this market has been in an uptrend. And I remember early on, one of the biggest complaints from certain technical traders about the market moving higher is that it's not moving higher on volume, it has to fail. It's not moving higher on volume, it has to fail. It's not moving higher on volume, it has to fail. You heard it to death. And the market never did, right? It just continued higher and it continued higher. So do I take note of the declining volume in the SPYs? I do. But it's not that important to me. Would the market look even better if the volume was, being sustained at a little bit of a higher level? Sure, it would, but I don't think that means it's destined to fail because the volume isn't there, and that's what we've also seen historically. So something I'm definitely noting, but like I said, a lot of times, especially when the market's moving higher, you go into these upside grinds. Like look at the upside grind in July here for the SPYs, or look at this upside grind here at the second half of June, how low the volume was in this upside grind. We can get that, and the price can just keep slowly grinding higher, pushing higher as this volume, comes off even further. And it doesn't mean that we can't get continuation. It just means that volume is coming down. Volume also will come down a little bit if volatility declines. October tends to be a very volatile month. We saw volatility in a pretty big way here compared to what we've been used to for most of 2021. We saw volatility in a pretty big way for especially the second half of September and really for all of October so far. Again, not the most concerning thing to me in the world, but we can pay attention to the fact that volume has come off a little bit. Is there some way to input a good till canceled stop? On the professional trading softwares through T3, you have to re-put in the stop every morning. And stops can't trigger overnight anyway, because they become market orders, and market orders only work during the market. You have to use limit orders pre and post market. Even if you're crossing the market, it has to be a limit order that crosses the market. Next here from Robert. Can we review BABA? Yeah, so BABA still looks great on the daily chart. I know some of you guys were looking at this off the open, and if you bought it off the open, that is the low of the day that you were long versus. It looked pretty good here, and then this volume woke up. I don't know why the volume woke up here at 11:05. If I had to guess, I would say that this was just a big dark pool print that went off in this candle that's actually creating the volume, in which case it's not as important as when that you have that like sustained volume coming in. But yeah, I mean, it was okay. It didn't close great. So, if you bought it off the open versus opening lows, which I think a couple of you guys did, probably not one that you would want to swing based on the close. It just didn't close well enough with a big enough of a profit cushion for you to actually be able to keep. But the daily chart itself is still intact. So let's pay attention to this daily chart. Really want to see this BABA start clearing 170. It might need a little bit more time here. I think overall it's looking good. It just didn't give the follow through today. Let's just take a quick look. We know NIO is fantastic. What did JD look like today? Yeah, JD's also working its way back towards its resistance, a little bit extended. JD's been a great one. What did PDD do today? Yeah, PDD had a decently strong day. PDD is like my least favorite one of them, which doesn't mean I don't like it. It's just my least favorite. Yeah, AR we spoke about because it got upgraded as a trade above 20 for today. This also gave a great opening drive type move. If people were long off the open versus 20 or very quickly versus the opening low. Nice initial move here, so definitely no one should have lost money in that. But eventually it rolled over, it broke that opening low, and it closed really poorly. So that's why you have your risk management in place. You should be getting stopped out of this either here at like 2057 on the way down off the low of the second bar, or if you're being very greedy, when the low of the day breaks, you're getting stopped out. No one should be enduring the rest of this, and if you executed AR decently today, it should be a green trade, or if you were extremely greedy, a flat trade. So, not bad. It just also did not close well. Jerry's saying LI and BBIG maybe for tomorrow. We can look at them. Yeah, so LI I don't love as much as some of the other. I don't love as much as XPEV or NIO. Just based on the intel from my friends who are in China. I think I mentioned last week in a meeting, I grabbed a drink with a friend of mine who literally just got back here from Shanghai like a few weeks ago, and I grabbed a drink with him last week, and we were talking about the car stuff, right? I think I mentioned in the meeting that he was saying that you can't get the license plate right now in Shanghai unless you have an electric vehicle, that there's a wait list for combustion engine vehicle license plates that goes back for a year plus, but if you get an electric vehicle you can get it right away. So he's seeing a ton of NIOs on the road, he's seeing a ton of XPEVs on the road, he's not seeing anything from LI. So that kind of has me concerned. So you do have an inside day today, there is a trade set up, but I love paying attention to like what I call that qualitative research, and I am a big believer, you guys have definitely heard me say this before, I'm a big believer in utilizing the world around you to give you information on trades. As a matter of fact, I'm going to write that down. Make a video out of that. I got some stories. Sure, so that's LI, and you're saying BBIG maybe for tomorrow as well? Yeah, You got the inside day here. I don't like this candle from 2 days ago, though, and it's kind of 2 tails in a row, and this ADMA hasn't caught up yet. So I kind of think that this one might need a little bit more time. Just because of the 2 tails in a row. Yeah, it's an inside day. So if it starts clearing 9, you could have a momentum break higher. But this thing is extended. We're talking about a potential break at 9 tomorrow, and the ADMA is at 722. It's just a little bit too extended. I think it might need more time, but I definitely see the setup there. Next here from Zahor. Tesla, unbelievable on this Tesla, right? We communicated this break of this ascending wedge through $800, and the follow through here has just been fantastic. It is approaching all-time highs, which is just beneath $900. I kept and later sold some of my Tesla at the pre-market, and most of it later. Tesla hit. So what's next on Tesla? Tesla at 875 today. What's next on Tesla? So with this degree of a move, so we had spoken about this ascending triangle here, and the technical break of this ascending triangle would be to double the base of the triangle. So I would kind of view the base of this triangle as probably these 2 bars. So this bar is a low of, let's just call it 745, and this bar here is 799. So let's just say $55. So that means that the technical breakout here that you can expect based on the, like, if you were to look at a book of technical analysis, like a textbook on technical analysis, which is kind of an oxymoron, but if you looked at a textbook of technical analysis, it would tell you that the expected move on a break of $800 in Tesla would be to about 855. So obviously, it's already overshot that, which is fantastic. At this point, it's extended. So stock's at 872, ADMA is at 825. It's approaching resistance of all-time highs. This thing needs time now, in my opinion. It needs time to give the next. There's no setup here, right? Like this was a setup, and we had identified some other setups earlier on in this price action where you could get long as well, including even this day, September 24th. So while this setup is building out, I think you just be patient and you wait. And it could be at this point, because now we're in earnings season. I'm not exactly sure which day off the top of my head Tesla is reporting, but I know it's relatively soon. At this point, after this degree of a move and this degree of extension, we might just have to wait for the Tesla earnings report before this thing can start to really reset up again and see where the dust settles on that report. It's Wednesday? Nice. So especially given that Wednesday after the close, I think at this point we just got to wait for that earnings report. That's right. Cool. Ariel asking about Zillow. Yeah, so Zillow, this is interesting. This is actually really interesting to me. Zillow announced today, and it hit the stock, that they were discontinuing, I think, and someone correct me on this, they're going to discontinue purchasing homes for their own book. I don't know if that's a permanent thing or if it's just to take a step back thing. I've heard that they weren't doing well on that. I also heard some wacky thing about how they bought up a bunch of properties in an area, and then because they already had a portfolio of properties, they bought another property at a really high price just because it would make the other properties that they already own look like they're worth more. I don't like that. But I have also remarked, as we're seeing companies like Zillow and also companies like BlackRock and Blackstone starting to get more and more into the single-family rental space. It's been my thought process that, I love that there's an opportunity out there. I know some of you guys here in the VTF are even involved in this type of business where you're in property rentals, right? You own a place and you do the numbers and you do the math for yourself and you make an investment and you buy a place and you rent it out or you Airbnb it out, and the idea is, to try to create cash flow off of that or whatever. My concern on that, when I start seeing companies like Zillow, BlackRock, and Blackstone starting to buy up single families, is that these companies, especially like BlackRock, have so much cash now that for them the real estate is probably just going to be like the stock market soon, where they're just going to have an algorithm, and they're going to run their algorithm, and if any property meets the criteria of that algorithm, they're just going to utilize their cash and make it a rental property, and then they'll price out regular folks who are trying to engage in that business over time as they soak everything up and make a bigger and bigger portfolio. That's like just a broad concern that I have. So I thought that it was actually really interesting that they've kind of said that business is not going well for them, and that they're just continuing it. And again, I didn't read too much in it. I kind of just was looking at the headlines on it this morning. But it caused the stock to gap down really big, back down into $84. But people had already been saying that business wasn't going well for them. So maybe the fact it got bought up off that 84 is because people are happy that they're not continuing a business that wasn't going well for them. I don't know. I broadly think it's really interesting, though. And it did hold 84, which is previous support from this low, perfectly today. It's extended the downside. There's definitely room for this to bounce back to 90. But overall, this chart's now broken. I think you could try to be long versus the $84 support, or otherwise, I think you just got to sit back and wait and let this thing clear the space between $96 and $100, where it now has, there's resistance here at 96, there's resistance at 98, there's resistance at 100. This is that area between 96 and 100. You start seeing it clear that area, and it's probably going to take time for it to do it. Then I think this thing looks a lot better, and it's really only at that point now that I would want to start getting back involved in Zillow. So yeah, that is Zillow. I'm just seeing you guys. They stopped buying their homes. Zillow to stop purchasing U.S. homes after building a big backlog and facing staff shortages, and they're underwater on a lot of their houses. Supply chains are slowing renovations, so that's caused that problem for them on renovating homes, says Jordan. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. They could turn it into a REIT. Cool. Let me scroll back up here to see what questions I missed. Why not raise stop on the remainder of AMD to a prior day low or to a moving average like the daily ADMA? Sure. So definitely would recommend that you check out my game planning class because it gets into how I trail. I do not trail just based on candle lows. There's got to be more to it. I want a pivot point, ADMA catch up, and new highs. So you could maybe make an argument. You know what? I don't even like calling this a pivot point. You could maybe make an argument that yesterday's low is a pivot point. But since the ADMA hasn't caught up to that low, I would never raise my stop to it. And this goes back to somebody asked me a question. I thought it was in the morning meeting today about something that they got shaken out of. And I was like, oh, you just raised the stop too soon because the ADMA didn't catch up. I don't raise the stop until the ADMA catches up. So potentially I could raise my stop to yesterday's low if and only if when maybe the ADMA price of the ADMA is above the price of that pivot. I never put stops on moving averages. Moving averages are just averages. They're just squiggly lines in the chart. They don't mean anything. They're tools that help you understand price action. So I would never just put my stop on the ADMA. I have no problem giving this all the way back. So the question I got to ask myself is, if I'm willing to give it back $10 here, what is the reward potential that makes the risk reward of giving that open P&L worth it? I need to ask myself that question. I also need to ask myself the question, what is the probability that I can raise my stop soon per my rules? So I'll answer both questions. One, the reward potential in AMD is pretty much unlimited. And I know that's one of those wacky things. I'm sure someone out there is rolling their eyes when I say it. But, you know, again, you're talking to me, I had Microsoft from $45, and I basically still have the position, right? So there is, when you're long and you're with the trend, for certain companies, the reward potential is literally unlimited. It's going to go to wherever it goes over time. The only thing to the left here is the 122 resistance. That's it. So that's the answer to question number one. So is the risk reward worth it for me to potentially give this back $10 to make unlimited reward? For me, the answer is yes. But obviously, I do want to raise my stop over time to be able to lock in profit. But I have to do it based on my rules. What is the probability that I will be able to raise my stop based on my rules? I think it's high. It's pretty high. After this candle, it's very likely that the ADMA will catch up to this pivot low and I could raise it to that stop. If I want to trail it that tight, I might not even want to trail it that tight. I feel like I got great stock. I'm also not super heavy in it, right? I had a decent position in it, but I took some on the way up, took some off on the way up. So it's not my heaviest position. But I got enough to, you know, kind of continue to pay me if the thing wants to continue to trend up. You know, I added on, you know, tacked on a decent little extra piece to my overall P&L today. So yeah, Mike, that's the answer to your question. Next year from Chinggis. What are the signs you look for when you enter a trade, exit 50% of the trade for break even, and then it moves down without taking more profit? How would you handle it? Close before failure for some green, or wait till it fails? I'm always waiting for the failure at that point. If I've sold 50% of my position and my risk is covered on the position, then and it starts going down from that first kick, there's nothing for me to do. There's nothing for me to do. If you are doing anything at that point, you're probably limiting reward more than you are helping yourself. You got your risk covered. Your worst case scenario is a break-even trade. I will take 0 as my P&L on failed trades all day. If I can have trades fail and I lose nothing on it, I will take that all day. So if I got my risk covered on a position and the position starts pulling back against me, I don't do anything and I don't care. And that's it. And if I overthink it or I start taking more stock off, in the long run, it's just going to cause me to limit reward. So I do nothing. CLF and X are moving after hours. Which way? CLF, I guess, is up small after hours. What's X doing? X is about where it closed. These had interesting days. I think STLD got downgraded this morning. That kind of baffled me, actually, when I saw that downgrade. I like these material names, but I figured I needed to stay away from them after that downgrade because they were all gapping down even more than the market. And look what happened. They got bought all the way up. Cliff got bought all the way up. US Steel got bought all the way up. And STLD, which I'm pretty sure is the one that got downgraded, went green today. So I think that these we can keep on the radar. I like this CLF. Oh, STLD reported earnings. Got you. Thanks, Jerry. And Morgan Stanley downgraded the entire sector, according to Jong. And then Jerry saying that steel had Q3 earnings. Oh, is STLD moving up after hours? Yeah, okay. So this is moving up. So I think STLD got downgraded this morning along with the whole sector by Morgan Stanley just for them to report great earnings that caused the stock to go up a lot. So that analyst is still obviously still out there earning his salary, working hard. Next I'm seeing from Fish, CRK is the last candle of the day today real. Based on what I see, yeah. Maybe you got something different on your software, but I know you're on not a professional software. So the last candle in CRK just looks like a tight bar. Nothing unusual there. What do I think of today's candle on HUT? Yeah, well, you know, we talked about HUT pre-market to not buy it. We said it was too extended to come in and buy. HUT, same thing with Mara, right? Oh, Mara actually still gave good continuation. It's a great day too, but it doesn't mean it would be the right thing to do and come in and buy it. What did BTBT do today? What did Riot do today? Riot had a decent day. Yeah, so HUT's candle isn't great. It tells you it needs more time. It's a big week for crypto, right? This crypto ETF that's going live tomorrow. It's going to be interesting to see what it does and what it does to the stock market price. I remarked in the morning meeting today, I find this one's particularly interesting because I find that a lot of these types of events tend to be sell the news events where everyone buys crypto up, for example, in expectations of the crypto ETF going live tomorrow, only then to dump the stock into the actual event. So that would be my one thought process. My other thought process is that this ETF actually opens up the capability for crypto to bring in a lot more assets and certain types of assets that they weren't able to get in the past, right? People who, you know, whatever, they have their accounts with, I don't know, Fidelity or whatever, and didn't have that exposure in the same way, or never opened up a Coinbase account, and now they can go in and actually buy an ETF. So what's going to be stronger here? Is it going to be the buy the rumor, sell the news type of thing, and they come in and they sell it because they bought it up into the event? Or is it going to be that the new money flow that can come into that ETF enables the entire sector, are we calling it a sector, to be able to catch a bid? And I don't know. I'm curious to see what's going to happen. So we'll see. But yeah, the daily candle on HUT just is telling us that it's extended and needs more time, which is fun. Would you ever consider lowering your stop in AMD from Rich? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to turn a winner into a loser. So, based on my rule set, what I usually do on these types of trades when they start as day trades and I keep them overnight is my original out from the trade until and unless I have the ability to raise it based on my trailing stop rules. So that's exactly what I'm doing here. Just follow my rules. My out is still that out until my rules tell me that I can raise the stop based on my trailing rules. I wouldn't increase the risk and potentially turn a winner into a loser. That is from Rich. I don't know where Pat is, but Robert, if you're able to copy and paste that, I would appreciate it. Oh, looks like you did. Yeah, I don't know where Pat is. Maybe he's on a date. Maybe he is back at the DMV for the 7th time. What do I think of Plug? Yeah, so Plug's looking better. We spoke about this move was massive, right? And it got way too extended here. We specifically spoke about not buying it on these couple of days up here just because of the degree of extension that we needed to reset up. We need these moving averages to catch up. So it pulled back. I remember on Friday really wanting this pullback to be a little bit deeper. I think I even spoke in Friday's morning meeting that if I could get a pullback to closer to 30 on this, that would be a dip that I would love to come in and buy. And it just didn't quite get down enough for me to get involved. 30.77 was the low that day, but it did pivot that day, and now the ADMA is almost caught up. So I think that once the ADMA is fully caught up to Friday's low, it's not quite there yet, then you've got your confirmation that this is potentially the next pivot, post-breakout, and it's looking really good. The digestion of this gain up here is really solid. The fact that this thing is continuing to hold above 30, I think is fantastic. I mean, this pullback, considering the degree of the move, this pullback was very shallow. And that's all bullish. I think Plug is looking really bullish. It had a good-looking day again today. I got no way to enter it right now. So, keep an eye on this to see if it gives a new setup to be able to enter for folks like me who missed the move and who are not in, or for folks like maybe you to be able to potentially have an ad on their position with a new stop. But definitely looking good. And that was from Colton in YouTube. Steve here is mentioning that people are bringing up how gold was able to go 5x in the launch of the gold ETFs. So that maybe crypto is able to do the same thing. I think someone else was mentioning that with USO this morning, that when they made USO come live, that it really enabled oil to actually catch a big bid just because USO was in existence. So yeah, we'll see. It's definitely interesting. Next year from Sebastian, what do you think about Qualcomm for tomorrow? Qualcomm's looking a lot better. I find that this is not a great trading vehicle. Not usually the stock I want to go to for my active trading, but this is looking good here above this 130 area. It's definitely created some resistance for itself, but it snapped back in a strong way, got up there. It's resting. It's a good-looking candle. So yeah, you could look at this above, the space between 130 and 130.50 for continuation in Qualcomm. Not my favorite trading stock, but it's definitely looking good. Someone asking about Fubo. Yeah, Fubo looks great. This is another one. I had Fubo on my list to buy today if it could get closer to 27, and it did not go down enough. 27.58 is the low of the day today. I wanted a little bit deeper for me to get back involved in it. They didn't give it to me. I thought that this stock was going to need a little bit more time, just given how big this move was. So I wanted the opportunity to be able to buy a little bit of a deeper dip. I didn't get it. I think it looks great. It is extended, and you do have resistance at 30. So I wouldn't be buying like into the close. I wouldn't be buying like into the close today. I wouldn't be buying tomorrow morning. You know, you want to have this from definitely no worse of a price than 28, where I think you don't have a good risk reward. Even if it works, right? And we talk about this all the time. Just because something works doesn't necessarily mean that it's good or that you did a good job. You know, if it works within the confines of you following a rule set that can breed consistent profitability, and you're trading based on appropriate risk reward and probability of success, that's what you want to be able to do. So I think that, you know, for Fubo, you don't want a price that's any higher than 28. And if you got a price that's 28 or better, you're looking fantastic. I had stock from 26. I think, but I'm out of it now. That was a great, you know, couple day trade for me, and you know, didn't let me get back in on the dip. So, but overall, it's looking great. You do have resistance here at 30, so I definitely don't want to be buying an extended stock into resistance at this price. This is where you want to be booking some profit from having it from a really good price, and then not getting out of everything though, because this thing could absolutely continue. Mike, when I was taking my SIE exam, I asked my father's Schwab broker what his clients were saying about crypto, and he said everyone asks about it, but they just don't have direct exposure to Coinbase, Binance, Kraken, so maybe this is it for them. Yeah, that's the bull case, Mike, for sure. For sure, that's the bull case. Zahor giving us some information on earnings names for tomorrow. We got Netflix after hours tomorrow, so that's going to be an interesting one for sure. Start of the FANG names, exciting. Next is from Adelitas Photography, asking about Macy's overnight. It depends on your price. You know, a similar situation, you don't want to be buying these into the close, I don't think, and keeping them overnight. You want to have this from a good price. We saw the bull flow coming into this Macy's early on. Incredible strength in retail today. The move in Macy's today is honestly mind-blowing, because this tends to not be a momentum stock. And obviously the momentum move in this thing was nothing short of spectacular. I think we spoke about this 2 days ago for a buy at 23 on this level. So hopefully people have it in from there, or at least $25. I don't think that you want to have a price that's too much worse than like 25, 25.50 on this. And again, I'm not a big advocate of a whole move in the stock happening, and then you buy it into the close and keep it overnight. You're taking undue overnight risk for a poor risk reward. You'd be better off buying it in the morning. So hopefully you've got a great price and you're looking for continuation, in which case, right on. And Open, yeah, Mike bringing up Open. Open's been looking great. Someone brought this up in the morning meeting. This Open was, and I know Kathy's involved in this. This was one of those stocks for a while, and I've got a list of these names, and like Path is one of them also. Where it's like I always, in theory, want to be in some of these names, then in practice, the technicals are never there for me to get involved. And this thing finally really changed in August. Woke up in a big way. It's just been in an uptrend ever since. Had a really great, strong day today. Overall, this daily chart's looking great. Also, I think too extended to do anything with now. But Open finally is looking better after all this time since it went public. So yeah, Open is another one. We'll see how Open plays out. PROG from Brian. Yeah, sick. Sick, you know, woke up, created a bull flag. I love, look at this, 3 inside days in a row to create the bull wedge with the ADMA catch up followed by continuation today. Stock is a little bit cheap for me. I usually don't like them too much less than $5. But as far as your pure technicals go, this is like textbook continuation today. So really, really solid. All right, gang. I think that's it for today. That's all I got. So, great start to the week. Great start to the week. It's Monday. It's going to be a big week, right? We know what stock I'm really looking at as far as the news event for tomorrow and to the change of the symbol on Thursday. So we'll see how that one plays out. And, you know, again, great start to the week. So I'll see everybody tomorrow morning.